Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I think I've shared this story before on here, but it's going to relate to today's guest. When I was a kid, I lived in a little town of Houghton, Michigan, rode the bus to school. I think most kids rode a bus to school. I mean, it was pretty rural. And you ride with the same people. There was one particular individual, one particular day, and we were on the bus. I wasn't in high school. I couldn't have been older than fifth grade, to be perfectly honest, because I remember the school we were getting off at. This guy, Tommy, was he was bugging me. He did something. I don't even remember what it was, but I turned around and I punched him in the face. Now, Houghton, Michigan's very cold. I was wearing gloves, but I connected pretty good. I don't think I hurt him. His nose didn't bleed. But in an instant, I felt bad right away. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I cannot believe I did that. He wasn't touching me. He just bothered me. And I just kind of felt cornered. And, this is probably 50 years ago and I still feel bad about it. And when I see him on occasion, I feel bad about it. He's probably totally forgot about it. And, I don't know. It's just, it really bothered me. But anyhow, Today's guest is Todd Birch, and he's a dynamic speaker, entrepreneur. He's a PQ mindset coach, and he hosts a podcast called The Bold Podcast. He has several businesses. He's got a digital marketing agency, but it's this PQ mindset thing that I really want us to talk about. It relates to my little story there, and my story with punching Tommy, that he was probably the only person that I punched, but I've had little outbursts here and there, and it's just, I think, I don't want to say everybody does, but I think we all have that moment. We all have our buttons, and I'm not proud of any of them. It's just part of who I am. I feel like I've gotten a better grip on things, but it's a process, and that's really what Todd has gone through, and really what Todd helps people with. And believe me, it helps with the relationship. So, Todd, welcome to the program.
Hey, Frank, thanks for having me, and thanks for being vulnerable and sharing that story and kicking us off. Yeah, I think we all, unfortunately, have some of those stories. Maybe some of us more than others. Unfortunately, I'm in the camp of more than others. It's all fear-based, right? It's all fear-based, and we can go into that a little bit, but I'll share a little bit about kind of my story and my journey. Similar, Frank, as even a young boy, I had several incidents that I'm not proud of. I can remember, in fact, I've never shared this on the air yet, but I was in I don't know, maybe fifth grade. And I was always a small kid, so I got picked on a lot, bullied, and kids were picking on me, took one of my toys or something, I don't know, and just got to me, man. And I had a voracious temper, and everyone knew that. And I threw a school desk across the classroom, and ran out of the school and ran home, and then ran away. Because I was so embarrassed. I came back home, that night, but not proud of that moment. I think I got suspended. And that was just kind of the beginning of, multiple things that continue to happen. And, Frank, growing up in the 70s, none of this stuff, neuroscience, mental health awareness, this wasn't around back then. Nobody pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Todd, I think you got some problems. Maybe you should seek some help." And what happened? The opposite happened, Frank. And actually, it became my brand, and kind of became okay. It was kind of, what's Todd going to do next? I joke that my initials TB stood for Temper Birch, but that honestly, that's kind of how my buddies knew me. And so even like as an adult playing softball, I remember I fouled out one time. I was very competitive, adult men's softball, fouled out, which I did quite often. And I threw a trash can across the field. I got thrown out of the game. And everyone's laughing. It's all, well, there's Birch again, big joke,
Yeah.
And I look back and God, I'm so embarrassed by that. Like again, I've never shared those two stories
It's like
on a
Bobby Knight.
yeah, that exactly. Yeah, it's Bobby
Yeah.
Knight. And a lot of people actually my nickname was John McEnroe.
Okay.
I had a big afro at the
Yeah.
time and wore a headband. So I guess I embraced,
Yeah.
that whole McEnroe thing. But yeah, that became my brand and it became okay, Frank. And it wasn't okay. And I'm quite embarrassed to share those. But what is okay is that I decided to make a change. And what I did was during COVID, I started to really embrace a holistic growth journey. And very blessed that I had an individual reach out to me on LinkedIn. So I know, Frank, you talk about, connections and networking, right?
Yeah.
And so this woman just followed me and saw some of the social media posts and content I was putting out and it resonated with her. And she reached out and said, "Hey, let's have a Zoom chat." I'm sure. I love meeting new people. I love connecting. Next thing you know, we're just like best friends. We hit it off. And I find out she's a high performance coach through Brendan Burchard's program. And then she has this other certification in positive intelligence. And that's it. So I hired her on the spot and I worked with her for 4 years, and she took me through the Positive Intelligence Program, and it's created by Shirzad Shamid. He's out of San Francisco, out of Stanford, and this program, what it did for me is it built an internal pause button, and I think that's the key. And there's a lot of people that already have that built in, right? Viktor
Yeah.
Frankl talks about that space, between stimulus and response.
Yeah.
I never had that space. And I'm not making excuses, but I would go from 1 to 10 like that.
Yeah.
So I'm
Just
sticking my foot in my mouth, I'm
yeah.
doing several things that I regret and I care deeply. And I was, very just, bummed out that I did these things, right? And sorry for these things. And then it's too late. You've already done it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was key for me was building that internal pause button.
What was your home life like? Well, I'll share mine. My
Yeah.
parents divorced when I was a senior in high school. But they were going through counseling, and the counselor told my parents, "You guys probably never should have gotten married."
Mm.
You know, it was very volatile. In fact, when I met my wife and we started, I didn't really have a lot of serious girlfriends, but we met my wife and it was kind of moving down there, down that path. And I kept waiting for these volatile arguments to happen. Right. And
Mm.
so like, okay, when's it going to hit? When's it going to hit? And it never has. And partially that's credit to her, but I'm not blaming my parents, but you said it early on, it's all fear based. And, I just wonder if there was something in me that I was just, I don't know, just lashing out for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I often, try to think about that. My upbringing, my parents are still together, still alive, great people. However, my mother, God bless her heart, was and to this day, still is a very negative person.
Mm,
And that's what I grew up with, woe is me. And she had a very difficult life. She, was brought up by two alcoholics, both of which who died from alcoholism. And yeah, it was not a very loving household. And she cared, would do whatever, but there was always that negative component. And yelling and not necessarily yelling at me, but yelling at the dog or yelling at whatever. And she had a
yeah.
temper too when she played sports. And maybe I saw that and thought it was okay. And they, my parents continued to come to the sporting games that I was, participating in. And that's where it all kind of started because I was involved in a lot of sports and very competitive. And I hated to lose, hated to do anything that wasn't like the best performance. So a
Yeah.
lot of it was baseball, striking out, or red cards in soccer. Um, So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if we went to a therapist, you and I, Frank, maybe we'd find out more. But
Doesn't
you know,
matter at this point.
it
It
doesn't
doesn't.
matter.
Yeah.
What matters is that we recognize, right, that
Yeah.
we had some issues, and I think that's where we're at in this stage of let's talk about it, just the workplace, right? And professionalism is that it's okay to raise a hand and get some help. So that was kind of the main issue, the stigma was just saying I have an issue, or even just talking with somebody. Now it's okay, right? And there are resources, and there are even wellness, mental health wellness programs in a lot of corporations now, which is wonderful. And COVID brought a lot of that to the forefront. So if
Yeah.
anything, COVID was good for that particular thing. But it's still up to the person to make that choice, right? To recognize that they do have some issues and to make a choice to seek help or to change. But yeah, Positive Intelligence is an amazing program. It's all wrapped around mental fitness. Mental fitness is kind of your capacity to respond to all of life's challenges, in a
Yeah.
positive, clear, and focused mindset instead of being derailed by stress, negativity, or self-doubt. And it's all about a mindset and shifting from a negative to a positive. And Shirzad calls kind of the negative aspect your saboteurs, right? Our mind is being sabotaged every minute, right? So many, 80,000 thoughts per day are negative. Most of our thoughts are negative. And they're lies. They're all lies. And we only need negative thoughts for 1 second. That is to keep us from harm's way, right? Think about
Yeah.
putting your hand on a hot stove over a fire.
Right.
Boom, you take it right off. That's all we need. If we keep that thought any longer than a second, then it is sabotaging us and keeping us from being at our best performance wise, keeping us from being the best from our well-being and also from our relationships. So it's about recognizing that you have saboteurs and what they are, right? Stickler, controller, victim, avoider, right? There's 10
Yeah.
of them. There's a judge, and then there's 9 accomplice saboteurs, and then being able to catch those in the act. So you have a choice, right? When you have that space, you have a choice. You can go down the fork in the road. You can listen to the saboteurs and oh is me, and then spiral and be derailed, or you can go down the right side, which is the sage brain, the love brain, right? And that's where you're empathetic, you're curious, you're open, and you're happy and joyful.
Well, yeah, grateful.
Great,
I mean,
gratitude. Yeah, you're
yeah, I
grateful,
mean,
right?
yeah, it's just, I'd look back at moments when I have been out of sorts, angry, as you put it, 1 to 10. Um, I really had no right. I had no right. I have, yeah, my parents fought, but you know what? They took care of us. Never missed
Yeah,
a meal.
yeah, same here.
Played
Right.
sports, all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Right.
Decent high school, got to go to a decent, everything, Um, so yeah, I don't know. What I have discovered is, well, I'll leave that thought alone. What I was going to say is you said earlier, in the 70s, 80s, they didn't really talk about this stuff. Count to 10. If you're mad,
Mhm.
count to 10, right? That was it,
Yeah, get a
Um,
bag,
yeah,
and bring it
yeah.
into a bag.
Didn't really know what that stuff was,
Right.
what we're dealing with. And now we're kind of in the golden age. We're really starting to see how we can deal with these things. And then it's okay to deal with these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the science, the neuroscience, the
Yeah.
research is there. And that's what I did. So essentially doing this practice, building my mental muscle, doing mental fitness for 5 years, I've rewired my brain. I've literally laid down new tracks. As I told you earlier, I just hit mastery level in this PQ program, which not a lot of people, and I'm not bragging, and I'm there. I know nothing bothers me.
Right.
Very little bothers me. I come in to every scenario with an empty cup, and I'm willing and waiting for anything to be poured into it. I'm just open. I don't respond. I don't react. I just sit and I listen, and then maybe I respond, maybe I don't. It's a beautiful way to live.
Oh,
So so
Yeah.
gracious and happy. And then it allows me to lead with tremendous empathy. So when you do that, all of your connections, all of your relationships are so much better. It impacts every relationship in your life. My relationship with my wife, my two kids, my team, my colleagues,
Do
all of
they
my
notice
friends.
it?
Oh,
Do,
absolutely,
okay.
absolutely.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then I've paid to have, one of my employees go through it as well, and it's changed her life dramatically, both personally and professionally. It works. Now it takes some practice. It takes some work, just like anything. You're not going to
Yeah.
go to the fitness gym and immediately have these huge muscles. No, you got to
Sure.
do, yeah, you got to diet, and you got to have an exercise plan, and you got to do the work. You got to do the practice, right? And that's building it into a habit essentially so that it's default. And that's where I'm at mastery level. I don't even have to think about it. So I have these
Yeah.
saboteur thoughts, they come into my mind, or I have these trigger points, which I'll talk about in a minute, and boom, I catch it, and I'm right over to Sage. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, Frank, you'll appreciate this. I'll laugh. I'll call it out. I'll just say, that's ridiculous. Why am I even getting upset about that? And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, so this is what you and I are talking about, and a lot of people in your audience would probably relate, was in the car. That was one of my worst places to be. I don't know what it was about driving, but every other driver bothered me. If I would come up to a stop sign and you got that person that's looking at their cell phone, they can go. It's been 5 minutes. Do you stand there and just patiently wait, or do you lay on the horn, give them the finger, roll down your window and say something, that you might regret? So that was me, road rage guy. And I did
Yeah.
it on the expressway when someone's riding me or I couldn't get over or whatever. Man, you don't, especially society today, you don't know
Oh,
what that other person is going through. So
yeah.
with this practice, it's taught me just, who knows? I just pretend, I say, I know we always say don't have assumptions, right? I say in this case, assume that everybody is going through something.
Yeah.
Just assume that. So I say, oh, you know what? Maybe that person, that text or whatever they're reading, maybe it's their kid or somebody's hurt, or who knows, right? Who am I to say? And it's 5 freaking minutes. Why does
Yeah.
that really? We're both going to get to the next stop sign at the same time, or
Yeah.
the stoplight, right at the end of the day. So it's ridiculous, and that's where I just kind of laugh at myself. But it took me that time, Frank, to practice, to do the reps, to then build the space, which gave me the pause button. And it's changed my life. It's changed my business is in the best position it's been in 16 years. And I honestly believe a lot of it is due to me going through this program and just having a whole different mindset,
I,
approaching everything in a different way.
I think I think the mindset is important. Um, I think it's an energy thing because you are not wasting energy on stupid stuff, right?
You're absolutely right.
You
Right.
know, you're using a football metaphor. You are north and south with your running. It's not this
Mm,
east west.
that's
Trying to
a
deal with whatever.
that's a great point. It takes so much energy to fight the negativity, and
Yeah.
you just derail and to come back. And that's actually another great point. If and when, and I'm not perfect. I do have some blips. Man, I can respond back. My recovery time is literally seconds and I'm
Yeah.
back. It's almost like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Where I would go down, right? I would spiral or be derailed for hours.
Yeah.
Say, a client's, we had some client issues, or we didn't land a new prospect that I spent hours and hours on an RFP. I'd be upset. I'd take it so personal. And then my team hears me, hit my fist on the desk or swearing, oh my gosh, can't believe they didn't pick me. It's all fear-based, like we
Yeah.
said. So, yeah,
Let's touch on triggers, if you would.
yeah, yeah. Well, for me, they're all saboteur based, right? So,
Yeah.
that trigger in the car
Yeah.
was one of my main triggers. On my I was a self-proclaimed perfectionist, which in the saboteur land, we call that the hyperachiever. Um, horrible, horrible place to be in. In fact, I used to have it as all of my team members have kind of a nickname on the back of their business card, AKA so and so. Mine was the perfectionist.
Hmm.
And it's funny, it would be a nice icebreaker when I meet somebody, they're like, no, that's kind of funny. I'm a perfectionist too. man, I got a black marker and I just scratch that out of all my cards now. I'm like, that is not me. That is
Yeah.
not the way to live. Yes, have goals. I want to strive every day to be 1% better, right? To be the best version of myself. But I'm not striving for perfection. I'm striving just to get better. And when you live that way, you can lessen the saboteurs, lessen the triggers, and just be happier, be more fulfilled. And honestly, Frank, it's about embracing the journey. That was a big piece that I missed for several years that my high performance coach taught me. She said, Todd, you just need to embrace the journey. Forget about getting to the summit because when you get up there, you're going to want another summit.
Yeah.
So it's really an infinite game. Like Simon Sinek says, it's just an
Yeah.
infinite game.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. And it does save energy. The other thing I have found, and I haven't gone through the training you've gone through, I'm just more tolerant of other people. Somebody
yeah.
who's kind of, who has those outbursts. It's
Mhm.
like you said, well, you just assume, that
Right.
something's there. And, um,
You're more empathetic. I mean,
yeah,
that's it,
yeah,
essentially.
thank you. Yeah. Um,
And that's a great way to lead it. Now, what a lot of people like might misconstrue is that doesn't mean that you don't still hold people accountable,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, there's one thing to be empathetic, to have sympathy, but there's still accountability to perform at a high level, to do excellent work, right?
Yeah.
So it's a dial. It's a
Yeah.
dial. There's a time and place,
Well, I think it opens the door to coach somebody and say, what, you really can't do that.
right? And
I
that
get it.
I
Yeah.
love that. The coach, right? The
Yeah.
coaching moments, being able to
Yeah.
identify when you have a coaching moment and to
Yeah.
really just guide somebody and let them make that call, right? Let them
Yeah.
learn for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think certainly, well, I'll put myself in the same camp. I'm well positioned to do that because I've been there, right? I get it. I totally
Right.
get it. I, I totally understand what you're feeling and that anger and just the fear. Just stop for a second. Just stop and take a deep breath.
Right.
Um, so
We move so fast, Frank. And here's the thing too that's helped me out quite a bit is mastering your schedule. My schedule was so back to back to back to back. I
mm,
had no buffer blocks. So if there was anything that threw me off my game, man, then I would get upset, right? And that would fuel me because there was no space. I had,
yeah,
and I mean literal space, and time. So I started to space things out and really add physical blocks in my calendar. And it may say nothing. It may
right.
just say Todd time, whatever, meditation
Yeah.
time, whatever. But just giving yourself a little breathing room in between things so that you're not rushing from one thing to another. So yeah, that was
I,
a big
yeah.
piece for me.
I think that's great advice. I think a lot of us, well, I'll speak for myself. During the COVID lockdown, I just felt compelled like I had to be going all the time because it was so different.
Really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I've got to pack my day with conversations and whatnot. And then I
Hmm.
started to realize that, you know what, having having 5 conversations in a day, you can't keep track of it. Less is more. And
Less is
so
more. Yeah.
I went in and I purposely went into my Calendly and made it just certain things. I can only record one podcast interview a week. So I send my link out, or not a week, but a day. I'm not
A
going to have
day. Yeah.
3 in a day, right? Because it
Oh,
takes a lot of energy.
I don't know. Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how you even did that.
well, I felt like I needed to, right? Because you don't know what other people are doing. You just assume that other people
Oh,
have it all figured out. And
interesting. That's
yeah,
okay.
um, so yeah, I just said, I just space. I need more space. And
Right.
get acquainted calls. I could have 16 in a day. No, no,
Right.
no. 15 minutes, and there's a 15-minute buffer, and I'm only going to do 3 a day. You know,
Right. Right. So
um,
you could take it in and more about, right, the quality than the
yeah,
quantity.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I think about that too in the books that I read. So I was always about, again, the perfectionist. I got 20 books here and I want to read one. every 2 weeks or one a month. And if I don't complete that, I get upset. And then again,
Yeah.
saboteurs, and I start to spiral. And I'm like, ah. And then now I'm just like, I just want to read like 3 books and really dive all the way into the book, right? It
Yeah.
could take me a quarter to get through that one book, but I got 10 pages of notes. I'm really comprehending the book,
Yep.
as opposed to trying to blow through it just to check a box. So that was a thing that I've done in the past year. That's been helpful for me.
Well, good.
But
Let's shift gears here. We're wrapping up.
yeah.
I want you to talk about your business. People want to work with you as a PQ coach,
Hmm.
but you also have your marketing business.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it, how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a digital marketing company, Evolve Marketing. EvolveMarketingTeam.com is our web address. Our focus is on website design development and then all the digital marketing components, search engine optimization, pay-per-click, social media, email, all that fun stuff. So yeah, we've been doing that 16 years. Amazing team, just really amazing team. Love them like family. So yeah, definitely check that out if you have some interest and need some help in marketing or web. And then I've kind of transitioned out of that business, and now I'm keynote speaking, corporate training programs, positive intelligence coaching, and then as you mentioned, behind me I have the Bold podcast. So this is kind of my ecosystem of really my mission is to help people reimagine how they live, lead, and work, to help them become the best version of themselves. So one person at a time. And that's through the Positive Intelligence Program, which I'm a living case study, and I fully believe because I've been there, I've done that. And then, yeah, I focus my core message is really about the power of positivity, the power of getting out of your comfort zone and cultivating an open growth mindset. So if you have a company or organization, you're looking to bring somebody in to ignite the spark in your team, or to talk about positive intelligence, or just to get them to think about an open mindset, especially with kind of all the change that's happening right now, and in companies from a change management perspective, that seems to be resonating with companies. So yeah, reach out, and you can go to toddbirch.com for that, and reach out on LinkedIn. This is all about networking, right,
Yeah.
Frank? So let's
Yeah.
connect. I love meeting new people. That is my favorite thing in the whole wide world, and hearing about your story, your journey. And if we can help each other out, fine.
Yeah. That's what it's
That'd
all
be great.
about.
That's it.
I really appreciate this. Is I didn't know what I was coming into, a digital marketing guy coming on here. How's this going to work? But it's really a good episode. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. I appreciate you and what you're doing, and sharing your stories. So looking forward to just staying connected with you.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.